Hey everyone, you are thinking about moving to Canada? Yeah, I get it. 2026 is actually pretty interesting time to move. And honestly, there is never be more way to do this. So look, I'm going to be very honest with you right from start. It's not going to be super easy for everyone, but it's definitely doable. Some of you watching this, you could literally start your application next week. Others might need more prep time, and that is totally fine. So stay with me, get comfortable, get comfortable, because we are going to go through everything from this fast track, the slow bumps, the cost, the reality checks, and all of it. So let's dive in. All right, so first thing first, Canada wants immigrants. They've got this plan called the immigration level plans. They are bringing in around 500,000 people this year. That is a lot. That is a lot, right? So, and here's the thing, which is very important. Just because they want a lot of people, that doesn't mean they want everyone tomorrow. They are very picky about who goes in fast. I don't want to say this to discourage you, but I just want you to, have the idea of what you are working with. So Canada basically wants three types of people quickly. They want the skilled workers, they want students who will become workers, the business owners and investors. So the big question you are going to ask yourself is, which category do I fit into? So because that is going to determine your timeline. And look, I know some of you are going to be like, just tell me the fastest way, and I will, I promise. But you have to understand your opinion first, because the fastest way for someone in tech might be totally different than the fastest way for someone in healthcare. Just so you know, let's talk about the express entry. This is probably what you've heard before, or if you've got, or maybe you've done your own research. It's basically Canada's main system for bringing in skilled workers. So here's how it works. I'm going to try to make this make sense, because the government website makes it sound very more complicated than this. You create a profile, you answer questions about your age, you answer questions about your education, about your work experience, about your language skills, and all of that. And the systems gives you a score. It's called the CRS score. So comprehensive ranking system. Scores goes from 0 to 1,200. Every couple of weeks, Canada does what they call draws. They basically say everyone above this course, you are invited to apply for permanent residence. And right now in 2026, those scores have been floating around. It depends, but let's say everywhere around 470 to 530 for general draws. I know you are thinking, okay, cool, what does that mean for me? Well, here's the thing. The scores depends on a bunch of factors. So they specifically target people in healthcare, STEM, trade, transport, and agriculture. So if you work in any of these fields, your chances get more better. There was a healthcare draws recently where the cutoff mark was 422 points. That is very lower than the general draws. So if you are a nurse, a doctor, a medical tech, or whatever, you might have a much easier path. Here's the timeline on express entry. If you get invited, you've got like 60 days to submit your full applications. Then processing usually takes about 6 months. So best scenario, you could be in Canada within 1 year of starting your profile. That's pretty fast in immigration terms. Let's talk about the provincial programs. All right, so this express entry is the fastest for federal systems, but each province in Canada also have their own immigration programs. They are called the Provincial Nominee Programs. That is the PNPs. And honestly, this might be the fastest route, especially if you don't have the highest express entry scores. Let's talk about the work permit. So now maybe you are sitting there thinking, all this sounds great, but I need to get to Canada, maybe right now or not in a year. Well, that's where work permit comes in. I would say a work permit isn't a permanent residence. You can't stay there forever on a work permit, but it gets you into Canada fast. And more importantly, when you are in Canada working, you become more attractive to permanent residents later. But there's a bunch of work different permit options. So if you are from a country that has a free trade agreement with Canada, like the US, the Mexico, Chile, and others, you might qualify for all this. Like if you are American and you work in a professional field, you might qualify for NAFTA based work permits. And all this can be proceed at the border, even the same day. Yeah, same day. There is also an international experience Canada program. If you are under 35 years old, so this is working holiday visa. Basically, you can come into Canada, work for up to 2 years, depending on the country you came from. It's not available for everyone. This usually depends on where you came from, but if you qualify, it's super fast. Like you could be approved in a week. So that sounds better. Here's the strategic part. Once you are in Canada on a work permit, you start accumulating Canada work experience. Remember how I said that helps in your express entry scores? Yeah. After like a year of working in Canada, you could add like 40 to 50 points to your scores. That could be the difference between getting invited or not. Let's talk about the study permit, Canada study permit. So this one is very, very interesting because it's definitely not the fastest path to permanent residence, but it might be one of the most reliable, or if you are willing to invest the time and money. I would say money. So if you are willing to invest the time and money. Now let's talk about the cost nobody really likes talking about, but we have to, which is money. How much is this actually going to cost you? So this application fee themselves aren't that bad, honestly, but for express entry, you are looking for like about $850 Canadian dollars per adult, plus another $230 for each child. So for a family of 2, that's like $1,100 just for the application fee. But that is like the government fee, and that is not the whole picture. So you are going to get all your documents together, educational credential access, that's like about $200 to $300, and police certificates from each country you've lived, a country you've lived in for like 6 months. Your medical exams, those cost about $300 to $400 per person. Language testing, this and this for English, this for French. This test costs like around $300 $300, and you might need to take more than once to get this course that you need. And then there's one big thing: proof of funds, the POF. Canada wants to make sure you can take good care of yourself, support yourself when you arrive. And if you are single, you need to show about $13,000 Canadian dollars. And for family of 4, you need close to $25,000. And this has to be the money you can access immediately, not the one that you lock, or maybe it's not your investments or your property funds. It will be the money that you can easily access. So, and the moving money now, actually packing up your life and moving to another country, shipping your stuff, plane tickets, your first month's rent, your security deposit, and you could easily spend up to $5,000 to $10,000 on the move on itself. So in everything, if you are doing express entry without a lawyer and you are single, you probably be looking up to like $15,000 to $20,000. And to make this happen for a family of 4, you will need like $30,000 to $40,000. And let's talk about the challenges, okay? Because we are going to have a real conversation here about challenges. It's because I don't want you to move or go into this with unrealistic expectations. First off, finding a job outside Canada is very hard. Like, it's really hard. Canadian employers generally prefer to hire people who are already in Canada. That is why I mentioned this work permit, and that's why I mentioned this work permit or a study permit route earlier. So this cost of living in Canada, especially in the big cities like the Toronto, is not a joke. So like, you are going to be in shock expensive. 1-bedroom apartment in Toronto or Vancouver, you might be looking up to $2,000 to $3,000 in a month. And the weather too, like, I'm going to mention it because Canada winters is cold. If you are from a warm country, this is going to be an adjustment. We are talking about 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, in a lot of places. So the job market is competitive. Even with all your qualifications, you might have to take a job that is below your qualification level at first. I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm only saying this to get your eyes open. All of these challenges are solvable. People do go every year, hundreds of thousands of people. So you just have to be realistic. You have to be patient and flexible. Have a financial cushions, and also be willing to network with people. Also learn about Canadian workplace culture. Canada is genuinely a great country, to live in. Free healthcare, good education system, generally safe, diverse, but it's not paradise. It's a real place with real challenges. All right, let me wrap this up because I know we've covered tons of information here. And if you want to move to Canada, fast in 2026, here is your actual plan. First, figure out which pathway you qualify for. Are you a skilled worker who can easily do express entry? You have to check out the Provincial Nominee Programs, especially if you are willing to live outside Toronto and Vancouver. Secondly, work on your express entry profile. Take the language test, get your credential assessed, calculate your CRS scores, and see where you stand. Thirdly, you have to consider the stepping stone approach. Can you get to Canada on a work permit or the student's permit? First thing is, because honestly, being in Canada makes everything easier. The fourth one is, get your finance in order. Save up for your applications, for the move, for settling in. The fifth one is start networking now. I mean right now. If you want to, if you are planning on moving, join LinkedIn groups for your profession in Canada. You have to connect with people who have already made that move. And look, be patient with be patient with yourself. Immigration is a process and it takes time. It's going to be frustrating. That one is normal, but if it's really what you want, and you have to keep pushing forward. If you are qualified and persistent, you can make this happen. Trust me. I hope this is very, very helpful. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the comment section, and good luck on your move. Maybe I will see you in Canada one day, sometime. All right, that is it from me, and thank you for watching. Take care of yourself. Bye.